Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us at e-KLESF 2022. My name is Ting Brown, Center for Corporate Community Development, Utah. Today we are presenting a webinar, Food Talks to Your Genes. Dr. Poon Lee Kuen is an assistant professor from Faculty of Science, University Tunku Abdul Rahman. Just a little housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box in your Zoom control panel. Dr. Poon will bring them up during the Q&A session at the end of this webinar. For Utah students and staff, please sign your attendance in the link posted in the chat box. Without further delay, let us turn the time over to Dr. Poon.
Okay, thank you very much, okay, for Ms. MC. Okay, thank you for your brief introduction. So now I would like to share with my slides. Okay, so let me start. Okay, so today my topic is food talks to your genes. So I hope you know what is about genetics, okay, before we really go through the whole talk sections, right? So because like the following focus, we will focus how your diet and is interact with your genes in order to how it's actually give an impact to your health conditions. All right. So if you look at the these diagrams, right? So it's a body shape, right? So how these shapes actually developed, right? Is it because of you have right diet, okay, during your daily like the dietary behavior, and whether you have to choose a wrong food, right? So that make you obese. All right. So if you look at this slide, right? So which actually show us the Malaysian teenagers who actually is shorter as compared to others country, right? So when it's compared to Singaporean, Japanese, and South Koreans, it really show that our teenagers actually are shorter as compared to them. So this survey actually is just a very recent survey, which is conducted on early of 2022, right? So what is the cause, right? What is the factors actually make them shorter as compared to the others? So have you think what is the main factors? Okay, so next, this is the world map, right? So means we will focus on the locations, okay, like Malaysia, we have the East Malaysia and West Malaysia, right? So look at the obesity prevalence, okay, in Malaysia, which is 15.6%, right? Okay, so definitely this one is the highest among the Asian country, right? So this following diagram really show the differences, okay, according to the obesity prevalence in the Asian country, right? Malaysia actually is in the top, right? So this is not a good thing. So if we are top in the world, top in the Asians, it's good, but we are top in obesity. So this is a bad thing. All right. So if you look at this is another diagram of survey done by National Health and Morbidity Survey, right? So which is really show that 50% adults in Malaysia were overweight or obese, right? And comparing with male and female, females was found about 54.7% they're having this type of obese problems. And among the races that we in Malaysia, okay, like the Malay populations, Chinese population, Indian populations, and others, it's found that Indians are having higher obesities as compared to the other races, which is 3.9%. And according to the different age range, 55 to 59 years old age group, they have the highest obesity, so which is 60.9%. Okay, so the next slide that we will focus actually is the childhood obesity in Malaysia, right? So maybe if you look at the children's, okay, or you are still in your teenager stage, or you are still in the primary school, so you try to look at your friends surrounding you, so whether they're having this obese problems or not. So in Malaysia, it's actually show that the list of the obese city in the Southeast Asian country, right? So the top one is Malaysia, okay, which is about like 30%, right? So this one actually is some of the serious, okay, problems and issue we should look into. So that's why in the school they try to have the something like food campaign, right? So how they actually can prevent obesity among the childhood, and they try to reduce the prevalence of the obesity in the school, right? So according to the statistics, it really shows that obese children who like in the current stage, right, they are obese, and 50% of them will change to become obese adults in future, right? So it actually also may affect your children, because when both children are heterozygous, it means that they carry some means the obese gene. So definitely, okay, they also have a chance to get the children with obese. So which is about 2/3 chances. Okay. So have to think about mental health problems among the children in Malaysia, especially during these few years, right? So one survey done by National Health and Mobility, right, they found that 424,000 of children in Malaysia really struggling with mental health problems, right? And especially in the age 10 to 15 years old. So most probably they are in the secondary school, and mental health is about 9.5%, right? So if any of you have the sign and symptom like without any reasons that you feel very sad, anxiety, and you don't want to communicate with the others, suddenly you are feel very angry and aggressive because you see something which you are not expected, or you hear something actually is not good for you, and suddenly you actually lost of interest, okay, and you don't like to communicate with your friends, don't like to communicate with your parents, and suddenly you have a drop in your academic performance. So definitely this is some of the signs and symptoms that you are facing some mental health problems, right? So of course, okay, when you have the depression, stress, right, we can get the support from parents. So we also can get support from your teacher, right? And also you can try to talk with those professionals, right? So like the counselor, okay, and they can share with you. What about food, right? Do you think food actually will help you to prevent and also will help you to recover when you're facing some mental health problem? So food actually is one of the choices, right? So it's predicted that, okay, by 2030, if we did not do anything, right? Let's say government do not come up with any suitable campaign to these among the childhood, how they prevent the mental problems, right? It's predicted that not only the Malaysian population affected with mental health problems, but in terms of the economy of the country also will be affected, right? So it's expected that the impact to the economy, right, which is about like $6 trillion US dollar. Okay, and then according to 2020, right? So if you look at the statement here, right, a total of 1,081 suicide case was found, right, in Malaysia, right. So this one actually is a serious problem that the governments and all of us, part of the Malaysian, we have to look into this case. Okay, so this diagram actually show the 10 principal causes of death, okay, in Malaysia on 2021. So which is done by the statistic on case of death Malaysia 2022, right? So definitely because in the past 2 years, okay, Malaysia and all the world actually infected by COVID-19 infections, right? Due to this pandemic, actually they have a very high mortality rate, right? Besides that, okay, if you look at this kind of cases like virus infections, bacterial infections, and some of the cases like ischemic heart disease, right, is because of you are not really controlling your food diet, and it actually may cause some abnormality to the lipid profile, and also they may cause some like hypertension. And if you did not really control your blood sugar, definitely is a very high risk of getting the diabetes, right? So what we can see here, right? So all these types of the cases of death, right, is also relevant to the food, right? Of course, don't talk about the 1.9% of transport accidents, right? So this one actually is due to the accidents, right? Not because of the health issue or infections by the environmental factors. Okay, so the chronic diseases which is relevant and associated with food, right? We have these heart problems, and also we have the diabetes cases, we have the stroke, we have a cancer, we have a chronic kidney disease, we have the respiratory disease. So all these kinds of diseases actually can be prevented through your food choice and also your diet. So besides that, definitely they also involve other environmental factors. Okay, now we're slowly moving deep, okay, to the part like how the diet interact with the genetics, right? So all of us, we have our own genetics, right? So you should know, okay, what is your genetic background, right? So that when you make a food choice, right, you can choose the suitable food, right, which will benefit to your health, right? So knowing ourselves means that our genetics and our gene is very important. This diagram shows us the gene-diet interactions, how it's actually give an impact to molecular and clinical phenotypes, right? So this clinical phenotypes means the appearance, right? You can see your appearance, you can see whether the appearance is mean that, okay, whether you are slim, you are obese, you are in a normal conditions, right? Healthy conditions. Clinical phenotypes is mean that like the diseases, whether you are suffering with any disease, or whether you have a very high risk of getting the hypertension or diabetes, or even though cardiovascular disease, right? So this one also is because of the interactions of the diet and also your genetics. Okay, so you look at the box, okay, which is highlighted in yellow color, your current diet of an individual, right? So you should know what is the diet that you're having now, right? Because you are the one that make the decisions what you want to eat, right? So your exposures of food and diet, what is the nutrient? So nowadays it's very easy, right? So you just go to Google search, okay, and then you ask for the Professor Google, then he will answer you many questions, right? And then you can get the answer immediately, right? Definitely you have to refer to different resources, right, to get the more accurate answer, right? So this diet actually they will interact with environmental factors. For example, like whether you have exercise, okay, physical exercise daily, or because of the hormone changes, right? So for example, from the small kid, right, they have the transition period, right? So it will show you have the hormone changes, right? So like during the menses, or during means that what it means like during the periods, okay, the menses, especially for the girls, right? Actually, you may need to choose the right food, okay, during this period. Another age, okay, because due to the aging problems, definitely the metabolism is getting slow. So you have to choose the right food, right? So once your metabolism drop, right? So you are considered as slow metabolizer, right? So when you are a slow metabolizer, definitely you have a very high risk of getting the chronic diseases, right? Because many nutrients you will not able to digest or absorb 100%. This actually takes time, right? So at that moment, also you do need to consult with nutrition or your dietitian, right? So to get the more professional advice, what kind of food which is suitable for your health condition. Okay, so another one is the races, ethnic group, right? Your ancestor, right? Because this is about the genetics, right? So of course, all of us are human sapien. We are the same species, but none of us we have the same genetic. Even though you are from the same family, like among your sibling, you may not have the similar genetics, right? Okay, because of the genetic variance, or we call this one single nucleotide polymorphism that make all of us different. So each of us very unique. And this unique, right, is actually will show interactions with the diet, right? So diet actually will give the impact to the expressions of the gene. Then how is actually metabolize that nutrient? So it can be from one person to another person, they may have a different gene expression level. So do you know food, right, actually will affect your health, right? So it actually will prevent disease. It also can improve your health conditions, right? So it's a very simple, if you look at this diagram, right? So this diagram actually is showing us one of the example, right? Broccoli. So broccoli actually is very healthy vegetables, which they contain these bioactive components. So these bioactive components, they can act as anti-inflammatory agents, right? Because they are having these functions which they have the anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory properties, right? So that they can prevent cancer, right? Okay, so this broccoli, right, they have the ability to switch on or switch off, right? It depends on the conditions, right? So it actually can switch on your genes in order to become like a potent cellular antioxidants, and they play the role as detoxification agent, right? And also they have others protective compound as well, okay, from the broccoli. Okay, so first of all, okay, when we talk about food talk to your genes, right? So you should know what is genes, right? Okay, so genes is from DNA. As we know, DNA is the molecule which is they consist of two chains of sequence which they coil around each other to form a double helix. So this double helix actually they carry the genetic material. So this genetic material is the genetic instructions. They're actually helping us for the growth, development, functioning of all known living organisms, right? So it's actually important that we know what is our gene. Am I right? So gene is a sequence of the DNA that code for a molecule that has a functions that they can transmit the genetic from an organism to another organism when they have the same common ancestor. Right? It means that they are from the same parents, they're from the same grandparents. Okay. So chromosome is a long DNA molecule which is part of all the genetic material of an organism. And the last one, what you can see here is the genome, right? So humans are formed, right? We have these human genomes, and this human genome, they have 23 pair of chromosomes. So this 23 pair of chromosomes, which they consist 22 pair of autosomal chromosomes, which female and male, they have a similar autosomal chromosomes. But what makes the female and male difference is because of the sex chromosome, right? So this one is about the background, some of the information on DNA and genetics. All right. So diagram is showing us, okay, they have a 3 different genotypes, right? So why we have a 3 different genotype for each gene, right? So each gene, they are come with in a pair, right? Because one chromosome, okay, if you look at the 23 pairs of chromosome, so where these 3 means the 23 pairs of chromosome come from, right? So one chromosomes, let's say chromosome 1. So one chromosome is from fathers, one chromosome is from mother. So you have 2 chromosomes, right? Okay. Diagrams show the interactions between your food exposure, right? So this food exposure actually will provide you the multivitamins, the nutrients, right? The multi-nutrients that actually we need daily, right? So you have to make sure that you have the balanced nutrients, right, in order to prevent the diseases. So when they interact with your genetics, right, here show us different person, they may have their own genotype, right? So like genotype 1, genotype 2, genotype 3, but the response of these genotypes to the similar food may not be the same, right? If you look at the diagram showing here, right, genotype 1, when they have the interactions with this nutrient, they manage to improve the health and also the performance, right? So it's actually getting better. But for the individual contains genotype 2, right, or those having the same nutrient, but it show no effect, right? So you will start to compare, why my friend who taking these nutrients actually have an improvement, but I have nothing, right? They see no improvement, and then means that it's something like you just eat for your interest only, but it won't give any benefit, effect or impact to you. For the genotype 3, okay, same condition, taking the same nutrient, but right, this one become worse. The health condition actually they show impaired, okay, to your health condition. It's become worse because of your gene variants, because of your genotype, right? So that's why, okay, if you have a relative or your family members who is having some medications, right? So especially for some of the traditional treatments, right? They always like to listen their friends. Okay, their friends say this one is good for them, but when they try, right, it show no effect, right? Some actually also they come up with uncertainty, so they have some adverse effect, right? They cause impair, okay, to the health, right? All this is because of the genotype, right? Because they have the diet and gene interactions. Okay, so just now I have explained, okay, about this, okay, what is the chromosomes, right? So chromosome 1 is from fathers, another one is from mothers, right? So definitely the parents who carry the heterozygous, they have a different combinations of genotypes, right? So this is what we call genetic inheritance. Okay, so definitely you have to understand what is this genotype and phenotype, because genotypes are the genetic makeup of individual, and the phenotype actually is the appearance, what you can see, right? Because the gene you cannot see, but appearance you can see, right? Your health condition you also can tell people because they have the sign and signals. Okay, so another new terms for you, or maybe you have heard this term before, epigenetics. So how these epigenetics are concept in our life, and especially, okay, how is actually relevant to our diet, right? So how diet may influence epigenetics and our health. Okay, so first of all, you have to know genetics, right? So you won't able to change your genes. You cannot change your genetics, right? Because it's transmitted from your parents. So environmental factors actually will not influence and will not cause any changes to the genotype or to your genetics, right? But for the epigenetic changes, definitely, okay? Environmental factors, food, diet actually may cause changes to the gene expression, not the genetics. This is what we call, they may cause alterations or changes to your gene expression, right? So this is epigenetics. Okay, I have one question. So can epigenetics be inherited? The answer is yes, because recent evidence they really show that certain epigenetic marks can be inherited, and they will reshape the developmental and cellular features over generations. Okay, so animal studies they really have proved it, right? Before they try in a clinical human sample, right? They actually really prove it using animal study, right? So to prove that your DNA is not destined, so you still can change your health condition, although you have a mutation in your DNA, right? This is what we call epigenetics. So we have two different mouse sample here. The yellow mouse is obese, right? Which they have a very high risk to get cancer and diabetes because of the aquatic genes that in this yellow mouse. And for the brown mouse, okay, it's a smaller size, thin and healthy. Okay, right. So how this epigenetic functions? Okay, if you look at the origins of these DNA sequence, right, you found they have a one mutation in the DNA sequence, and these mutations, right, may cause the negative phenotypes, right, which you can see this one is the yellow mouse, right, which is obese and then have a high risk of getting cancer and obesity, right? Yes. And then, okay, you look at another one. This one is epigenetics, right? So we have the mutations in this DNA sequence, right? But we do have the methyl group, which is contributed by the diet, right, from fruit. And this fruit, actually, they have a methyl group, right? We call it a DNA methylation, which they can silence the bad genes, means they silence the mutations, right? And they have developed, okay, the mouse, okay, with a healthy condition, right? So it actually will change your destination, right? So this is not means like I get the bad genetics, I will not change my reality, not really, right? If you choose the right food, okay, if you choose the right lifestyle, okay, to survive, right, you can have a very healthy condition. Okay, so this case actually show two mouse, okay, with a similar genetics, right? I repeat, similar genetic, and they are in the same age, right? But why they have a different appearance? Why they have a different phenotypes, right? Because the yellow mouse mothers, they receive a normal mouse diet. You know what is a mouse eat, right? What is their food diet, right? It's just a normal mouse diet. But for this brown mouse, okay, we call this one is a healthy mouse, right? Its mothers receive a diet supplement, okay, supplemented with choline, folic acid, pectin, and vitamin B12, right? So all these nutrients, right, they are classified as methyl group. So these methyl groups will perform the DNA methylation, which they will silence the mutant genes, right? What we mean silent? We restrict and inhibit the gene expression. It will not express. When it will express, then the mouse sample is considered as healthy mouse, right? So this diagram is show that how these methyl group really can strip off the acutine gene, okay, the bad gene, because these bad genes may cause, when it's expressed, it may cause the mouse become obese and when it's become adulthood, right? So this mouse actually easy to get cancer and have a diabetes, right? So these methylations, when we actually eat the food that provide the methyl group, for example, like the choline, pectin, and vitamin B12, right? So the alkylating genes will be methylated. So when it methylated, so the genes will be silenced. So when it will be silent, it cannot be expressed, right? So the mouse will become healthy phenotype. Okay, but for the mouse, genetically they have a mothers, okay, which carry the aquatic genes, right? But the mothers just consume, okay, a normal food diet, right? So definitely the aquatic genes will not be methylated. So unmethylated will cause the aquatic genes continue active. So the gene will express. So this is why the mouse will become obese. Okay, so I just want to show you, okay, this is the mechanism or the definitions for the methylation, right? So methylation can help control gene expression, right? So it really can control whether they want to switch on or switch off, right? So for this case, the group, the methyl group, right, they really can silence the expression because the genes is methylated, right? Okay. Right. So this is when the mothers, okay, during the pregnancy, the mother's food diet is really very important, right? If the pregnant ladies, they go and take the very high processed food, unhealthy food diets, right? Definitely, they have a very high risk of getting the children which is not healthy, right? So the food diet of a mother is very important, right? It's really proved from animal study. So you look at this is the yellow mouse. So yellow mouse is classified as an unhealthy mouse, right? Because like based on the phenotype is very obese, right? And also based on these risk management, definitely for high obesity situation, definitely you will have a very high risk of getting diabetes and also the chances of getting cancers or other humans a chronic condition, right? So during the pregnancy for this mouse, okay, the animal study, the supplements was provided, means the food which have a high methyl group. Just now, like what I give you example, this methyl group is such as like choline, vitamin B12, right? So during the pregnancy and all the offspring that what you can observe, right? Instead of get highest mouse or offerings with unhealthy condition, right? But this unhealthy female mouse, right? She really can produce 75% mouse with healthy condition, right? So the chances to get a healthy mouse is very high, okay? When you provide the supplements, which is have a very high methyl group. But for animal case studies, right, they show no dietary supplementation was provided, right? So this yellow mouse just provide with a normal diet only, right? So what you can see from the offsprings, right? Mostly of the offsprings are yellow and unhealthy, right? Because the aquatic genes wasn't methylated, right? They're still active, means expressed actively, right? So this is the food which they show high choline, right? So it's a very common food that can get from your food choice, right? And then the pectins and also the folate. Okay, folate actually is the chemical compound, okay, from vegetables and from food, right? So if you go and buy supplement, so the supplement also you can buy like folic acid, right? So folic acid actually is they have a similar structures, okay, with a folate. Okay, and then B12, okay, B12 normally you can obtain from red meat and fish. Okay, so just now actually is an animal study. Now you try to think of how these epigenetics can apply in obesity, right? So definitely you look at the individual that have obese or overweight, you always will try to link them with their unhealthy diet and unhealthy physical activity, right? So because of their food choice, right, they go and choose a very high fat of food and then high carbohydrate food or high sugar level food. Definitely the risk of getting obese is very high. But all these food, right, is classified as environmental factors. So this diet will interact with our genetic variations. Okay, we call it a genetic variance. Okay, it will show the interaction with our genes, and it actually will have these epigenetics phenomenons, right? So this one actually will change in our gene expression. Okay, just would like to summarize it. The methylation really can help to control your immune system. It also can control your emotionals. Okay, whether you have insomnia or whether you have a better brain functions, right? Is actually really because of the methyl groups. Another one actually is the DNA repair. Okay, detoxifications and controlling the inflammations in the body. Okay, so when we talk about the gene and diet interactions, it will link you to a new term like nutrigenetics and nutrigenomics. So nutrigenetics means your genes affect how your body responds to food because of your genotypes, right? So just now I show you one diagram, right? So different genotype, they will have a different response. Some actually they will show improved condition, some they will show no effect, some will show impaired, right? Nutrigenomics means what you eat will affect how your gene behave, right? Because of your genotypes, right? They will express differently. Okay, I don't know how many of you are drinking coffee or drinking tea, right? But basically, all of us will be classified into two types. One is slow metabolizer, and the other one is a fast metabolizer, right? Slow metabolizer, you will have problems when you take a very high caffeine drinks. Even though soft drinks, also they have a caffeine. They will cause insomnia, anxiety, and in future, if you have a very high consumption of the caffeine, definitely the risk of getting heart attack, hypertension is also very high. So for those who are classified as slow metabolizer, you are awarded to drink a caffeine drink, right? You try to limit the amount. For the fast metabolizer, you have no problems because your metabolism is very fast, right? So you may not have a risk like as compared to the slow metabolizer, right? So the risk of getting heart attack, hypertension, right, actually is lower, right? Okay, so they have this one like CYP1A2, 1F and CYP1A2, 1A. So this is what we call gene variants, right? So the different gene variants actually will give you the difference means difference impact to your health, right? So like the slow metabolizer, okay, you will have a high risk of getting hypertension, right? Impaired fasting glucose and myocardial infarctions also high, right? But for the slow, fast or rapid caffeine metabolizer, so definitely the risk of getting these chronic diseases are lower. Okay, and maybe you heard somebody actually have a sudden death, right? They always will classify them as like heart attack, right? So one of the cardiovascular disease is the long QT syndromes, right? So when you compare the normal QT interval and also the abnormal long QT interval syndromes, right? So they have irregular of heartbeat, right? So normally they have to prevent to do heavy exercise, right? So how about the diet? So definitely for the patient who already suffering with the long QT syndromes, you have to avoid to drink the grapefruit juice, right? Because this one actually will enhance, okay, means of the seriousness of the long QT syndromes. Okay, so definitely you actually eat every day, okay, and then you have a lot of choices, especially for those is from the like the urban regions, right? So definitely in the city you have many choices, right? But please choose the proper food, right? For example, like food that can provide means a very high omega-3, right? So what it means, like this omega-3 is from food, right? If you have lack of omega-3, definitely you can go to pharmacy and then you can go and buy the supplement, right? Okay, so this omega-3 is a polyunsaturated fatty acid, right? So which actually can help us to prevent Alzheimer's disease. Because like Alzheimer's disease, when the age is increased, the chances to get Alzheimer's disease is also very high, right? Because of the aging problems, right? So definitely omega-3 also can prevent some cardiovascular disease, and also they can enhance the immune functions, and also some of the cases like cancer, right? Because omega-3 also can prevent cancer, right? And also they can be one of these are anti-aging, they have anti-aging properties. Carotenoid, the carotenoids definitely is not a new term for all of you, right? So it actually will help us to prevent the good visions, right? And also can prevent this early atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, skin aging, cancer development, right? But this one definitely, because of the nutrigenomics, right? Each of us may have a different gene expressions or the response to the carotenoid. Okay, like vitamin D, right? So vitamin D also we can absorb from food, but the ability for the digestions from one individual to another individual may not be the same, right? Because of our genotypes or our genetics. Okay, vitamin E, right? So definitely this is a very common food they can found in your daily life, right? So all of them actually they contain the tocophenol. So this tocophenol is a very good, okay, for the the brain diseases, how we prevent it, right? And also they can be one of the anti-inflammatory properties. Okay. The sulforaphan actually can be obtained, okay, from broccoli. So which they can able to turn off oncogene. So this oncogene is one of the specific terms for cancer gene, right? So oncogene is a bad gene, right? We cannot, if we want to prevent or stop the cancer proliferation, so definitely we have to take the healthy food, which they may contain this sulforaphan, right? Because they manage to silence, okay, or inhibit the oncogenes. Resveratrol, okay, which is can be extracted from the grape skin, right? They can lead to changes in gene expression, which they can shift in energy production and metabolisms. Okay, right? So after go through this similar slide, okay, I hope that you actually will get some idea, right? So how these food actually can talk to your genes, because you are eating for your genes. So you are the person that make the decision what you want to eat, whether this one is really matched to your genes or not. Okay, maybe you will question me, I never go and do the genetic testing. How I know my genetics? You may not know your genetics in details, but you can observe, right? Through the observation, you can observe the health condition from your parents, the health condition from your grandparents, right? Actually, you roughly can guess what is the type of genetics that you have, right? So if your genetic means that your family have a very high risk of getting hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, definitely from right now, better choose the suitable food for you. Okay, so I finish my talk, right? So now is the times. Okay, if you have any questions, right, you can raise it and you can type your questions to the chat box so that I will try to answer all of you.
There's a question said, teacher, eat what can grow taller?
Okay, so firstly, I want to check with your family background, right? So I have to know, okay, how tall of your parents, right? So definitely through the diet, right? So we knowing that we can provide the most suitable food for you to eat so that you can grow taller. But in order to get taller, okay, you have to start to change your diet when you are still during your adult, means like during your childhood, cannot be adulthood. If you really go to adulthood, they have no changes, right? If you really go through the history of the Japanese, right, you're comparing the development of the growth among their populations, right? So their young generation actually is getting taller as compared to the older day. Yeah, so this is the proof that diet actually may change their height. Okay, right? So mostly this is how they will means we will look at the Matthew group as well. Yeah. Okay, thank you, okay, for your updates. Yeah. Any more questions from the others? Yeah, because now you are 12 years old, right? So definitely if you consider your health condition is good, right? Actually you can consider to have some physical activity, right? So means like environmental factors, not only food, diet, but then exercise actually is one of the issue, right? Which actually can help you to means relax and also release all your stress, right? Because one of the elements, right, the stress elements also may cause some inhibitions, okay, to our growth.
Is there any other questions so that you can actually paste it on the chat box? Okay.
No questions. I think all of you actually is this topic is quite simple, okay, because this food is very close to us because every day you eat different type of food, right? And for the teenagers, actually they like to eat fast food, right? Fast food actually is not considered as unhealthy food because many people actually they may think that fast food is not healthy, right? But that one is not true, right? The food diet and then the food choice, right, is how you plan. Yeah, because like all types of food, right, actually they have the food components, they have the ingredients. They will show you, okay, what is the percentage of the polyunsaturated fat, saturated fat or trans fat, right? So they actually provide this kind of information to us. So when you go to buy the food, right, you have to read the ingredient. So you also roughly can calculate, okay, so that you will not means exceed, okay, the maximum amount. So when you have exceeded the maximum amount, definitely the chances, okay, to get obese is very high. And slowly it's actually will cause some chronic condition. So at the end, we have to always, okay, adhere to a balanced nutrients and balanced food. Cannot be too choosy and then you just choose some food which you like, right? So this one actually may affect your growth, right? And also your neural systems, right? Whether your means academic performance sometimes also may be affected, right? Because you have unhealthy food diet. Any questions, okay, from the participant?
I think there's no more questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Poon. Kindly fill up the sign out form and feedback from form after the webinar, yeah? So we would like to take a group photo with everyone in this webinar. Could you please turn on your camera, please? Any more? Please. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you. Dr. Poon,
Yes.
is there anything that you would like to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah. Actually, it's good that we can have communications with the students. Okay. Definitely because like we have to know, okay, what is the food choice of the students, especially for the small kid, right? What is their food choice, so that we can roughly know the through the survey, right? We can know what is their food preference, yeah, the preferable food they like, right? And then we can do more studies, okay, in future, how we, especially how we can benefit to the product innovation in future, because nowadays in the market you can buy a lot of like artificial food, right? So we are not sure how this type of chemical components, right, actually they will affect the students like the growings, right? And then definitely now they are still young, right? So means the chronic diseases or the signs and symptoms actually they only can observe 10 years later or 20 years later. Because don't be surprised, right? We actually got students, okay, which is 20 years old only, right? Already have hypertension, and also with a very high lipid profile. The cholesterol level is very high. But if you look at her physically, right, the appearance, right, she is very slim and healthy. Yeah, which you weren't able to expect. They actually having problem. So before I leave, right, I just want to pass a message to all the small kids here, right? So try to eat healthily. Okay, so you are what you are eat. Okay, yeah, that's all my message from all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Poon, did you see another questions? One of the students asked, fern leaf full cream milk is good for children age 5 and above?
Okay, so definitely the amount, if you actually for, because like just means 5 years old, right? And then the full cream milk, then definitely if you follow they have the recommendations amount. So if you follow the recommendation amount, definitely it will not cause any side effect to the children health. Yeah, just like the full cream milk, right? So definitely also depends on your genetics, because like as we know, right, they actually have some of the gene variants which they will have means the ability, right, for what we call this one the fatty acid, because their sensitivity to the fatty acids is very low, so they will not feel enough, because genetically they think that I still can drink more. Yeah, because I still feel that it's not enough. But for certain genetics, right, because of their sensitivity to the fatty acid is a very low, so just a very little amount, right? So the genes will tell them, okay, this one enough already, so you cannot take furthermore. If you take furthermore, right, then it actually will cause some adverse effect to your health. Yeah, so how many cups a day? When you actually drinks it, right, you can refer to that. Definitely you can calculate, because like according to the nutritionists, right? Actually, they have a formula to calculate. So per day, okay, what is the amount of the fatty acid, right? Because like cream, this full cream milk, right? Actually, it's a fatty acid. So what is the concentrations or the amount of the fatty acid they need for children with age 5? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Pon, for this insightful webinar. Okay,
Okay,
dear
thank you.
participants, please join us for tomorrow's talk webinar, which is solving inventive problems at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you and stay safe.
Bye bye. Thank you, teacher.